So starting into like graphing lines and finding the slope of lines. Slope is just like a rate of change, which we will kind of use this phrase. It's always rise over run. Are you cool that rise is like going up or down? Like if you rise, you go up or down. And what they mean by run is you go like left or right in that case, to where those very much represent like the x-axis and the y-axis. One goes up and down, the other one goes left and right. So what you do is you just got to count from one point to another. So it doesn't matter, like I'm just going to call this point A and this point B. Like it doesn't matter if you start at point A and count to point B, or if you start at point B and count to point A. I'm going to count how much I have to go up or down. So if I count from this point, would you believe that I have to go down 1, 2, 3? Are you with me on that? So then I'm going to start a little fraction. I went down 3, and do you notice that I put a negative in front of that because that represents that I need to go down in that case. And then, so I landed like kind of here. I need to move over to B, and I have to go to the right 1, right? So what do you think, positive 1 or negative 1 if we go to the right? Positive. The slope of that line right there is negative 3 over 1. Now, if that fraction would reduce, we would reduce it. Yes, you can write negative 3, but I'd like us to answer it like this. M equals negative 3. If you have not seen that the letter M in math stands for slope, M stands for slope, right? So, how about this guy? Like if I call this point A and this point B, you don't have to like put those letters. That's just for me to talk about them with you. But if I want to rise, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you see if I went up 4, I got to like the level of B. And then run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Both of them were positive because I like rose, so I was positive, and then I ran to the right, so that was positive. Does 4 over 5 reduce it all? So the slope of that line is 4/5. Now, because we're advanced, I think we should be able to look at lines and tell if their slope is positive or negative just by looking at them. So like if I highlight this line right here like orange, if you read from left to right, does this line go up or down? Doesn't it go down, right? That's why the slope of that was negative. You know, lines that go down have a negative slope, and doesn't this line go up as you look from left to right? You always got to read from left to right. So those are called oblique lines, right? They're not horizontal and they're not vertical. Many people in the past have called them diagonal. There's no such thing as a diagonal line. It's called oblique. We'll get into more of that in a little bit right here. So would you believe, though, that this line right here is not oblique? That is either horizontal or vertical. And good morning. What do you think? Horizontal or vertical? What is that, guy? That's horizontal. Let's count the old slope. If I wanted to count from point A to point B, how much would I rise? Would you have to go up? None. Are you with me? You'd rise 0, and then you'd run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here's the biggest pet peeve of a math teacher is students do not know if 0 divided by 5 actually works or doesn't work. And I say, if you don't know, why don't you punch it in your calculator? 0 divided by 5. Did I get an answer back? Because sometimes it won't give me an answer back. We'll go that in a little bit right here. But this slope, this does reduce. This is the most common thing that people won't reduce. They're like, I don't think you can reduce that. You totally can reduce it to 0. The slope of that line is 0. Please find the slope of number 4. Pause the video and get that done. Count rise over run. I counted a rise of 4 and a run of 2. Is that okay with you? So then, does that reduce at all? To what? 2? What I haven't shown is you could have went the other way. See, I took this orange path right here. I could have started here and went down 1, 2, 3, 4. I could have went down 4 and then to the left 2. And since I go to the left, isn't that also a negative? And what's a negative divided by a negative turn out to be? It's a positive. So it doesn't matter which way you count. The signs will take care of themselves, right? It's always going to turn out to be a slope of 2 in that case. And then one more of those. Let's just do it real quick to save time. I'm going to rise 1 and run 1, 2, 3. Isn't the slope of that guy 1/3? Are we okay with that, dude? And now for the danger zone. This is a vertical line. They don't even put points on there for me. I will just kind of put some right here. I'll call this A and this B. And let's talk like rise over run. If I wanted to go from point B to point A, I would rise 1, 2, 3, 4. Are you cool with me just rising 4? Whatever, you know. But how much Do you run when you go from point B to point A? Left or right? How much do you move? Nothing, right? Nothing. And the first commandment of mathematics is thou shalt not divide by 0. If I punch that in my calculator, it's not going to like it, right? 4 divided by 0, do you see where it says, error, can't do it, right? So what we will do on homework is you'll have to read the question. Sometimes they will ask you to write the word undefined. That is what I like. That is the correct answer. But depending on who wrote the program for the slope that you're finding, they might actually have you like type into the box DNE for like does not exist. I don't want this. On paper, I don't want DNE. I want undefined. Is that okay? But on the computer, they might ask you to do it that way. Just read what the problem is asking you to do. Cool? That's counting rise over run. Now, let's use the slope formula, which you have to memorize. So, in this class, sometimes we'll use formula sheets, but very rarely. We have to know this little formula. Notice that it starts with M. What does M stand for? Slope. And then here's a little clue about horizontal lines, vertical lines, and oblique lines. Horizontal lines always have a slope of 0. Vertical lines always have an undefined slope. And oblique lines have some sort of number. It's a defined non-zero slope. So here's the work shown that I shall ask for. Before I do that, let's kind of talk about what all these things are. It's kind of scary that you have like x2s and y1s and y2s and x2s. Last time, were you cool with the fact that we had ordered pairs? And kind of right with me. Underneath here, isn't every ordered pair go in this order, x, comma, y? For those who don't know why it's called an ordered pair, you put them in alphabetical order. Doesn't x come before y alphabetically, right? So, but isn't the other point also called x, comma, y? I've got 2 points here provided. They're both x, y's. So to distinguish the difference between the two of them, we're going to call the first one x1, y1 because it comes first. And we're going to call the second one x2, y2 on this guy. And when it comes to work shown on homework, I am going to grade this, like how I grade your work. So when it comes to work shown, be prepared to show it like this. Cool? You will start with this, m equals. You will put a fraction bar, and you see this formula. Let's learn to memorize it. It's y2 minus y1 upstairs. You need to show me them, not do it mentally. Who is y2? Out of all these numbers, who is y2? 8. Then you will subtract away y1. Who is y1? Yep. And then here's where I'd like us to outsmart the system. It is minus a minus 4. But we all know what minus a minus should become. What does minus a minus become? So I would like you to just make that a straight up plus. Are you cool with that? Then, before I clean that up, I'm going to do my x's down low. So x2 is 4. Are we down with that? Minus x1, which is 7 in that case. Are we down with that? Then let's work to the right. There's very few times, instead of working down, we're going to work to the right. When I do slope, I like to work to the right. I'm going to clean up what's upstairs. 8 plus 4 is 12. Are you cool with that? And downstairs, 4 minus 7 is negative 3. All good in the neighborhood? My question to you is, does 12 over negative 3 reduce? To what? Yep, negative 4. 4 over negative 1. We're not going to do 4 over negative 1. I mean, it's not wrong, but it's a little too, non-algebraic. Isn't the final answer supposed to be negative, right? And you have it 4 over 1. So I'm down with just plain Jane negative 4 in that case. And what I'm going to ask you to do on paper, it's not on the computer, but on paper, is tell me if I plotted those 2 points on a graph and connected them together with a straight edge, would the line that connects them be horizontal, vertical, or oblique? Every horizontal line has a slope of 0. Every vertical line has a slope that's undefined. And every oblique line is something else besides 0 or undefined. What do you think? Is this line horizontal, vertical, or oblique? Oblique. You will spell it correctly. It is in your instructions. Please make sure you spell it correctly. Oblique. So the big deal is the setup and the signs, right? I've done this for a long, long time. Can we set it up correctly, and can we get our signs correct? So I'm going to kind of do my work down here. I'm going to start with m equals. You'll thank me another day when we've got to do multiple steps that I made you put the m equals at the beginning. And if you need to, we'll do a little x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm not requiring this. Sorry. If I could hit the right button. I'm not requiring you label those little guys x1, y1, x2, y2, but it helps a lot of people to see who's going on here. So let's rock it, man. Who's on top? X's or Y's? That's the big thing that people mess up. Are the X's on top or the Y's on top? Y's are on top. So I'm going to do y2 of 5 minus y1 of 8 over x2, negative 7, minus, a minus 7. What's minus a minus become? Plus. Be cool with my setup. Upstairs, negative 3. Downstairs, oh no! How much is downstairs? 0. Here's the question of the year. Does that reduce? Yes. The answer is yes. What is negative 3 divided by 0? It's not actually even a number. It's a word. What is it? It's not 0. See, like, I've been doing this a long, long time. 50-50 chance is what you got on it. Why take a risk? Why not punch it in your calculator? It's either 0 or undefined. You know what I mean? So here's a little shortcut that I've shown people. God dang. Here's a little shortcut that I've shown people. Have you ever seen the word okay and the word no? It is okay to have 0 in the numerator. But it is a big fat no to have a 0 in the denominator, if you like write okay and no as a fraction. No! You can't have that. You cannot divide by 0. So let's try another one. Why don't we use the slope formula? Set yours up and see if you can check it with mine. Give that a setup. My freaking stylus is not working at all today. So why don't you try the rest? I need to say this again. So I did 9 minus 9 over 3 minus 5, which is 0 over negative 2, which turns out to be 0, and that is horizontal. Would you and a neighbor do number 10? Then you could check it with mine. And then after you check it, do 11, and then check it with mine, and then do 12, and then check it with mine. So we're doing like 3 in a row here. But do them and check them. On my setup, I got a 3 upstairs and a negative 21 downstairs. Talk to your neighbor if that reduces. Is there a number that goes into each one of those evenly? Doesn't 3 go into each one of those evenly? So reduce it by a factor of 3. And how you type it in, it doesn't matter where the negative goes. If you have the negative upstairs, if you have the negative downstairs, you have the negative right in front. What is that line? Horizontal, vertical, or oblique, though? Oblique. Keep going. Keep going. Horizontal, vertical, or oblique. So m equals 8 minus 9, y2 minus y1. Those are the y values, over negative 2 minus 3. And then, ooh, man, the super question of does that reduce? And the answer is yes. What is did I do it right? Yeah, I did. What is a negative over a negative, my friends? This is a positive, so that still reduces, right? Make sure that you reduce it. And that is oblique, because I didn't get 0 for a slope, and I didn't get undefined. So one more of those, set them up. And the biggest mistake that happens to us is a sign error. If we go too fast, we miss those minus and minuses. Right? Everybody in here knows that minus and minus is a plus. But you just got to watch out for it. So 13 over 9. Does 13 over 9 reduce it all? I don't think so, man. Horizontal, vertical, or oblique? Oblique. Cool. There are 3 more down there. Do the first 2 without me. 3 more down there. Do the first 2 without me. Just checking yourself with 13 and 14. Why did a lot of people not even want to try 15? You could say it. It's the F word. What do you see in 15 that you don't like? Fractions. What you can't do, but what's a good idea, but you can't do, is clear the fractions. Because that only works for equations. we got to deal with them, right? And what's awesome, though, is they all have a common denominator. So let's deal with them, right? We're smart. We can handle it. Let's deal with it. Let's do m equals y2 minus y1, right? That goes upstairs, over x2 minus x1. Same setup, right? Just taking it to the next level. To add or subtract fractions, that's the hardest thing to do with fractions, is add or subtract, because you have to have a common denominator. We do have a common denominator, right? So I'm running out of room. You can work to the right if you need to. I'm running out of room. But to like add or subtract these, since they're already in thirds, I'm going to have thirds for my denominator, right? And then you just like add or subtract the numerators. What's 2 minus 4, dog? Negative 2. So this is negative 2/3 for a numerator. Over the denominator, it's going to be in thirds. All you do is add or subtract your numerators when you have common denominator. So what you got for a numerator here? Negative, I'm going to go with negative 8. If I lost 1 and then lost 7 more, haven't we lost 8 in that case, right? So cool. Can't have this. This is very improper. This is a fraction inside of a fraction. Can't have it. So there's lots of ways to clean it up. I'd like to teach you how to do it without a calculator. Instead of, see the purple number upstairs is the numerator? Copy him down again. Numerator stays the same. And instead of dividing by negative 8/3, we could multiply by the reciprocal of that. Let me make it easier for you. What if I asked you to take something like divided by a half? That's the same thing as taking it like times 2 in that case. You know, it's just like, it's all good. You work with the reciprocal. So we will change this to a multiplication problem. And reciprocal means flip it upside down. So isn't this negative 8/3? He becomes a 3 over negative 8. Do you see how I totally just reciprocated that? That's a cool word, right? So instead of dividing by negative 8/3, you could multiply by the reciprocal. And now we got awesome sauce. Because is there a 3 upstairs and a 3 downstairs? Those will multiply out to be 1 in that case. So I'm left with negative 2 over negative 8. Please reduce that. Please reduce that. And he's more than negative 1 over negative 4. He is actually what? Positive, right? It's a negative over a negative. That was weird, right? Hey, if you made a mistake, I would likely say it was signs, minus a minus, or you have the numbers in the wrong place. Let's do a couple quick story problems. Here's what we'll do. Required for work is you will write some ordered pairs out of it. But let's read the story first. A daily newspaper has 12,125 subscribers when it began publication. 5 years later, it had this many subscribers. What is the average yearly rate of change? Because I'm going a little fast, I want to slow down. When you see the phrase rate of change, that's fancy math talk for find the slope. Just find the slope. But what we need is 2 ordered pairs. And here's a little secret. If you was to make a graph of this stuff and like put labels on the x-axis and the y-axis, you got 2 labels. You've got subscribers for one. What's the other label going to be? What do you think about years? Does years sound okay? Hey, which one would you put on the x-axis? Like, of all the graphs you've seen in your life, would years go on the x-axis or the y-axis? 99.9% of the time, time goes on the x-axis. I don't care if it's seconds, minutes, days, years, months, whatever. So isn't years like going down here? I don't care that you make a graph of this. That tells you who the x values are in this ordered pair. Isn't years supposed to be the x value in that case? So the real super secret to this is making this first guy an ordered pair, because they don't tell you how many years it has been. But they do. They say it's when it began. If we started this newspaper company and asked how many years it's been since I started it, on the day I started it, how many years has it been since you started when you literally started it that day? Has it been 1 year? If you start today, has it been a year? How many years has it been? 0 years, right? When you begin something, it has been 0 years. And then they had 12,125 subscribers. Write another ordered pair. This one went years, subscribers. Write another one that goes years and subscribers. How do you feel about 5? Because they say 5 years later. Hey, without doing any work, could you tell me if the slope should be positive or negative without doing any work at all? What happened to the number of subscribers? Did it go up or did it go down as time passed? Didn't it go down? Shouldn't we get a negative slope on this? So we will do it the same way. We will do m equals y2 is 10,100. Take away 12,125. And that will be divided by 5 minus 0. Grab ye old calculator to do the numerator for me. I got the denominator for you. The denominator is going to turn out to be 5. But I'll let you take those two numbers minus each other. Punching those dogs in. I got a negative 2,025. But it's over 5, right? Because that's what happened in 5 years. So we got to divide it by 5. And bada boom. Did you get negative 405 back? Now here's where the homework, I love this because they're going to make you put labels on it. This is a story problem, so I think we're all down with negative 405 is totally like a whole number, right, you know, in that case. But I'm going to put him over 1 because now the labels will make perfect sense. Could you tell me these big numbers right here, these purple dudes right here, were those about subscribers or were those about years? Subscribers, right? So since subscribers is upstairs, that's where this label is going to be. I'm just going to abbreviate it as subscribers. And then the divide sign, a lot of times it's said out loud as per, right? You know, what were these numbers down here? They were, starts with a Y, they were what? Years. So isn't that negative 405 subscribers per year? What we might have to do on homework is like outsmart the question, and they might not have a negative in front of it because they used an English word like the subscribers went down 405 subscribers per year, right? The word down took care of the negative. Read the question carefully, see how it should be worded. Is that okay? So let's try another one. Could you write 2 ordered pairs for that story real quick with a neighbor? Usually time is your x value, some unit of time, be it months, years, days, seconds, hours, etc. And then check yours with mine. There's one ordered pair. Here's the other ordered pair. I started with years for an x value, and the other thing is members of this gym. Find the rate of change, which is the fancy way to say find the slope. Find the slope. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And when we subtract, what I always enjoy is kids are like, I don't need to write any of that down. I just like take the 399 minus the 324. I like figure that out. So like it's went down 75 people, or went up 75 people, but then I also then just have to divide it by 2 because it's been 2 years. And I go, no joke. That's what you have to do to get this problem done. I'm doing a little thing called show the work. You know, it's like this is the formula behind it. So I got 75, right, over 2. Is that cool with you? And now, oh no, that's not going to come out nice, right? That's not going to come out right. We need them to be over 1 in that case. So when we do 75 divided by 2, I get a decimal. Read the question, see if they ask you to round it to the nearest whole number or round it to the nearest tenth, but we're going to leave it as a decimal on this one. This is 37.5 what? What would be the label that goes with this guy? Members per 1 year. I totally know you can't have half a member. You totally know you can't have half. It's not an actual number. It's the rate that things were changing by, you know, so it's okay to have a decimal. Just like when you find the average or something, a lot of times you get a weirdo decimal. Cool. So multiple choice, man. Let's read this and see what we need to do. What is the value of the tractor over time? On average, find the rate of change. So let's write an ordered pair with these two. Do you want to do the 2019 first or the 2019 last in the ordered pair? Where should the 2019 go? First, because it is a unit of time. So ordered pair of 2019, 80,000. Then the other guy, 2024, 65,000. And they ask us to find on average what's going to happen. We'll find the slope, man. So 65,000 minus 80,000 over 2024 minus 2019. Upstairs, you can get that number for me. Downstairs, I'll get you the 5 for you. That's been 5 years. So reducing that, what in the world is the label for upstairs? What is 65,000? What is 80,000? What's like the label on that? Dollars, right, per year. You can see that every one of these choices goes dollars per year. If I can hit the right button, dollars per year, right? Our answer was negative 3,000, and to the naked eye, it looks like none of those choices are correct because I don't see any negative 3,000s. What's another thing we could do for the negative? Decreased by $3,000 per year. Are we okay with that? I think that's enough, right? The last question we'll just skip for time purposes, so nice. Let us know if you have any questions. Have a good one.